So, good morning, everyone. I think introductions have already been done for what they're worth. We should dive right in, right? Why don't we begin by just taking a couple of minutes, to share a little bit about your background and where you're coming from, and that'll help shed context on the rest of the conversation. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. So myself, Jitesh Gandhi. Currently, I head product for a startup called 𝗴𝗍𝗲𝗧𝗲𝗃. It's a fintech startup trying to revolutionize credit. Prior to this, I've worked with multiple companies and scaled, 0 to 1 in different phases, 0 to 1, 1 to 10. There's a company based out of Middle East. We're trying to revolutionize mass transportation. So I was heading product there, built teams and scaled that organization. Prior to that, I was with Amazon, heading offline payments there, where we could scale Amazon Pay to over 1 million transactions per day. So that's in short about me.
Hi everyone, very good morning. My name is Rama. I am the co-founder and CTO at 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗲𝗃. Before this, I ran a failed startup. Before that, I was in Google for about 10 years. Today I would like to say a few things which would be useful for SMBs right from day 1 to day 5, and hopefully I'll contribute something to you today.
Hey, hi everyone. My name is Rajarshi, but Raj for short. I am a vice president at 𝗴𝗿𝗪𝗏. I oversee engineering and product for the company. It's been 4 years since I've been at 𝗴𝗿𝗪𝗏, so I think 4 years in a startup is equal to like 40 years in a typical MNC. So I think I've almost forgotten what I was doing prior to this. But as far as I can remember, I was working for a couple of startups prior to this, and I started my career at Hero MotoCorp, which was that MNC. So yeah, I mean, looking forward. Varun, over to you.
Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I'm Varun. I started my career with a small company that specialized in building products. Exited that to a health tech startup many years ago called 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. At 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, I looked after product, engineering, business over several years. Left 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and started another company called AcnaMed, which was basically focused on streamlining the supply chain for hospitals across India. Over 4 years, we scaled that to be the largest supply chain for healthcare in the country. And last year, we merged with API Holdings, which is 𝗲𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 and 𝗲𝗏𝗏𝗏 and all of those. And I'm still there as the CTO and co-founder. Little bit of background on everyone here. I think, so let's kick this off. I think, actually, I think a great place to start would be with you here. Raj, so, you've been, like you mentioned, 4 years at a startup can seem like a lifetime at a larger company, right? And I'm guessing that you've seen that journey of digital transformation and increased leveraging of technology within the business over time. So, can you shed some light on what is that like? What should people prepare themselves for? What are the things to look for in each stage of that journey, right? And what are the things to optimize for?
Awesome. Yeah, so I have seen 𝗴𝗏𝗪𝗏 effectively, I mean, when we started. By the way, for the uninitiated, 𝗴𝗏𝗪𝗏𝗏 is a company which is into furniture and appliance rentals, right? So just like how you have apartment rentals, we offer products on rent. Now, when we started this journey way back in the day, in the beginning, money is always tight, and especially a company which is like asset heavy requires a lot of financing, especially a lot of debt financing, and we all know the cycle. Equity brings in debt, or cash generating companies effectively will bring in debt. So in the beginning, money was always going to be tough. So we all understand engineering, while at scale, it can bring you grand levels of success in terms of monetary success, in terms of revenue, etc. But when you start off with technology, it's always going to be expensive. The initial indirect cost is very, very high. So then we had to decide what we were going to spend on. I think that's the first important decision that most people will have to take whenever they start off any venture with technology sitting at either a core or very close to a core level. So the way we positioned our roadmap was we started by building, by leveraging technology to build proper reporting first. I think the most important thing here is that when you try to quickly scale up, you are operating in several different demographics. You were mentioning about starting with a single customer group, but unfortunately the reality is when you're taking equity money from somebody, they will want you to capture the world in like a second. So when you try to scale in all directions, multiple TGs, multiple demographics, then the idea is, first and foremost, technology should bring in very, very sound reporting. Information that you are being provided via your tech systems, via your information capturing, whatever methodology or process you're using should be very, very accurate. So that you understand ki whatever business gamble you're taking is either successful or it's failing, and you need to go back to the drawing board and figure out something else. So the entire journey always starts with that. As you understand ki what is the best path to take in terms of, let's say, a pricing logic, or let's say a display experience for customers in case of, let's say, an e-commerce website or something, then you start building business intelligence into the tech infra itself, so that now you have started to automate your growth scale process. Finally, when you've reached, at least by the way, this journey is very, very personal to me and to Rentomojo. So finally, when you reach a stage where you can really afford to then leverage tech for optimizations, wherein the actual bottom line will get affected now, that primarily comes at a very, very later stage. So I understand a lot of people initially when they start investing into technologies, they start by optimizing first. But I personally feel that's not a correct approach. Instead, work with your investors, work with your partners, figure out that this is a goal. Beyond this, there's no point of proceeding with tech infra. I hope this makes a little sense, but yeah, that's typically the kind of journeys that we have maintained.
Wonderful, thank you for sharing. That reflects a lot of, at Acnamed, I would tell the board regularly that we look at each component of the business in 3 stages. So, by the way, it says harnessing technology to enhance profitability. Technology can be used to either grow revenue or improve profitability by reducing cost, right? So, on the reducing, and we do both, right? Like, we're a digitally native technology business, so we do both, of course. But on the reducing cost and improving profitability front, very similar to what you just mentioned, I would say first we'll digitize it, then we'll optimize it, and then we'll make it intelligent, right? So every step of the workflow, the fulfillment cycle, the sales cycle, the finance cycle, every part of that, right? We would look at it as an individual workflow and say, okay, we'll pick this up. We will first digitize the current process. Make sure that it's all sitting and the teams and everyone is comfortable with it being in one central place. Then we'll start optimizing it. And a lot of times that means things that you were doing offline don't need to be done online because there's redundancy. Plus you can automate a lot of functions. So the same process, same end result, it's just faster and more efficient. And then we start looking at how we've captured data, we've done this journey, it's been a year and a half for that particular function. We start looking at ways to make it more intelligent, right? Where the system actually helps in decision making. So very, very akin to what you just said. Thank you for that. I think, Rama, moving on. So I think in this journey, one of the things that a lot of people, so there are plenty of tools that are available, but I think a lot of SME business owners I've met, right? And it's because also over the last few years, AI is all over the news. You're very well poised to talk about that. Can you shed some light on AI for non-technology SME businesses, right? Is it really viable? What can they do? How can they go about it? Anything from your experience and learning would be wonderful.
Thanks for the question, Varun. So before I explain that concept, I would like to tell a small story. There was once a factory where there are production lines, different production lines. On each production line, basically the cartons are filled with products. Now, incidentally, it happened that every 10 or 20 cartons, one of the cartons would not be filled by the machines. Now the tech-focused management came onto on the floor and started designing solutions for that. They went ahead for computer vision, cameras, AI, and tried to build all kinds of solutions. But they could not figure out those empty cartons very accurately. Basically, there are like hundreds of production lines, and each production line there might be some empty carton, which should not go into the dispatch. Now, every month or so, these engineers used to visit the factory, try to optimize the solution. The watchman there was curious why they're putting cameras at the end of the pipeline where they're just looking at the boxes. And he was curious and asked the product manager, and the product manager told we are trying to solve this and this. The watchman just went and got a fan and put it at the end of the pipeline. Now the empty boxes just flew away, and the problem was solved. The reason I'm telling the story is, sometimes it is better not to look at high tech. Even though we have built an AI business, we are strongly with AI, but AI comes as an optimization, AI comes at a later stage. The first thing that you have to look at is trying to solve the problem for the customers. Are you solving the right problem to the customers? Once you solve those problems, you figure out what is your bottlenecks, try to optimize, as you said, either for increasing profitability or to increase revenue or to increase the scale. And once you reach scale, typically AI comes into picture to identify smart patterns, to do complex things that usually humans were performing, and you cannot just simply do normal rules with computers. And AI comes into picture over there. So it is definitely important to look at AI in the long term, keep it in the back of your mind that, okay, tomorrow this is the problem, this is the segment I'm probably going to implement AI with, and continuously try to solve the customer problems, as Neetu, the keynote speaker, mentioned. And then you can plan the AI journey as well.
Jitesh, any thoughts? So, I know you worked in fintech, and that's one of the leading use cases for AI in India and globally. You want to kind of add in on that?
So I'll just follow on what Rama just said. AI comes at a very later stage, right? And we all get fascinated by AI as such. But the example he gave, right, where the boxes were there, it could be solved by a simple fan, right? The empty boxes just. So deep dive, right? Deep diving into the problem is very important. So it's not about a solution. It's not like you take a solution and try to fit to a problem. So first you need to go deep dive, try to find a problem, and then figure out a solution for that. And in 0 to 1, when you are going 0 to 1, a lot of problems can just be solved on Excel sheets. Excel sheets, and even if you have the basic data in place, that solves a majority of your problems. But capturing the data and so what I call 0 to 1 is the time when you haven't established your product market fit. And product market fit can be different for different companies. It can be, is the company making money at scale, right? If I put it in a very, a one-line statement. So when you're going 0 to 1, it's very important that you hustle a lot. You figure out, have multiple hats, have the right data sources in place, and there are multiple ways to capture this data, right? Analytics is just one way. Listening to your customers is another way. If you have a call center, what are customers saying? That is another way. Doing voice of customers is another way. Right? So if you just capture the data, deep dive into the problem, and just go about solving it, AI comes at a much later stage where your business have scaled and you have enough data to sort of train those models and to make those decisions. Yeah.
I think, what's interesting is, actually, I think all 4 panelists come from businesses which are in some way or the other a little bit digitally native. And we have in-house R&D and engineering teams. In a traditional SMB setup, right, like that's not always the case. Because it's a very serious investment, right? And so one of the things I think I would like to add to this particular point is one of the easier ways to get access to useful artificial intelligence in your business, right, is to actually look at external tools. Case in point, I'm sure that none of us worry about building a CRM instead of using a fresh desk, right? Now, ticket escalation, auto responses intelligently are very good examples of machine learning that are built into that customer support desk or that CRM tool. Similarly, in Zoho, you have lead evaluation and qualification, hot, warm, based on metrics. Now, so when you look at external tools, there is actually the opportunity to leverage machine learning or artificial intelligence for your business much earlier on in the journey, because those products and platforms are leveraging not just your data, which takes time, like everyone mentioned, to clean, to standardize, to build up, right? So wherever you feel that you have a use case that many other businesses may be having, looking at an external tool that's best in class and powered by machine learning could be one of the ways in which smaller businesses can leverage that. Which I think leads us very naturally into another point. How do you decide whether you should buy something or you should hire some people and build something of your own, right? I'd love to get everyone's thoughts on that, because I know that at the end of the day, it all comes down to budget and ROI, right? Like as a small business owner, you have to make sure that your balance sheet stays a certain way. Why don't you begin here?
See, I think I won't treat this as a very professional seminar. I'll call it for what it is. See, when you start off, when especially companies, I'm going to only be speaking from a reference standpoint of typically companies who get in a decent amount of equity in the beginning. At that time, you have money. So the way we started is, ki paisa hai uda do, right? But eventually, as you grow, as you mature in a business, now that for us, we are a profitable business, and for us, that's the one metric that matters at the end of the day. The best way to decide between buying and, let's say, building your own tool stems from the fact that what is your, there are three things that matter here, to be honest. One is, what is your engineering team setup, to be honest. See, one of the biggest things that we try to do always is to hire the best engineer. But that's actually not true. The best engineer is the one who is right for your team. So I'll go a little technical here. So let's say, for example, our entire stack, for example, is both front-end and back-end is built on JavaScript. We wanted to have a unified code base. And that is why all of the engineers that we have are highly interchangeable, right? Because of this ability of engineers to interchange between various roles, we had the luxury of building a lot of tools in-house, right? But the only reason why we decided to build certain tools in-house were either the solution that exists in the market, which is generally a one-size-fits-all, wouldn't solve our highly customized requirements. That is one of the decision-making points here. The second thing is, you have no other projects that you are generally doing for, let's say, to aid growth. Because, for example, in order to, let's say, customize your journeys on your platform, providing this is a digitized, there is, at some stage, you'll have a digital journey for a customer. There won't be a tool out there which will personalize the journey for you. You'll have to do this yourself. So if you are allocating bandwidth to building that, it is best to then look for tools which are somewhere integrated into the system, which are solving certain nodes in terms of problem statements, and you have the money to, of course, afford to do so. Because it is, by the way, not true that building is cheaper. Sometimes building can turn out to be more expensive because more of, yeah, building is always, in fact, more expensive because more often than not, most of these SaaS products, they are designed for scale, right? So they bring the overall cost per, let's say, solving a certain case down. So these are the certain analysis that you ideally should try to do. You should see your engineering team fit. If you have things that other people won't be able to build, then you focus on building those and buy the rest effectively from the market. It's a simple framework that we've adopted, to be honest.
Paisa hai uda do. That's a great place to be. I wish we can say that at any point. So the build versus buy, it's always a dilemma in founders' mindset. As Varun beautifully pointed out, there are great tools, SaaS tools, Freshdesk, Zoho. Gmail, for example, if you were to build today, it will take you millions of dollars. But they're giving you like 150 rupees per month, like that cheap, so many features, so many functionalities. So one thumb rule I would use when to decide build versus buy is in what is your USP, your unique selling point, your differentiator in the market. That is most likely not already built on the market, so you will have to build that component, that core component yourself. Everything else you'll probably use off-the-shelf SaaS products. For example, if you're an e-commerce company, you will focus on building a great product. You don't have to build an e-commerce website because Shopify is there, WooCommerce is there. You don't have to build your own blogs. You have Blogger, WordPress, and other things. You don't have to build your supply chain. There are so many providers like Shiprocket, Delivery, Ecom Express. All of these you will use, and you will focus only on the one product, one core aspect of your product, and that is a unique selling point or the differentiator. So most of the effort should be in building the USP, and everything else today in this world is available for cheap. It is also, the another analogy is like, do you actually grow your vegetables at home? No, it is commoditized. You get great vegetables. You walk half a kilometer and you get variety of vegetables, organic, name whatever you want. You get dragon fruit, which is from outside India, and all the vegetables. So you don't have to grow your vegetables at home. But if you're creating a unique recipe, that is where you have to focus on, not on growing your vegetables. With that, I would like to pass on to Jitesh.
So for me, there have been a lot of instances where, we have, made this decision of build versus buy. I think a lot of panelists pointed out that anything which is run of the mill, right, which is available out there, and which is not a part of your core experience. And probably if you have the pockets and there's a strong need, you should always buy. Engineering in any organization is the most, I would say, sacred resource, right? And you need to prioritize your problems really well in terms of which problem should go to engineering. I think a lot of organizations, end up building something which is not important, right? So having the right priority for your tech resources is very important. And there are a lot of tools which are available, for top of the funnel, right? They're the likes of AppsFlyer, Branch, from if you want to track where your customers are coming from, right? There are the likes of Frio, who helps you optimize your marketing spends if you're doing social media spends, right? Then if, going forward, if you're an e-commerce startup, you have Shopify's of the world where ship rockets, logistics problem solved, right? But say when it comes to, core of your experience, like for us, let me take an example. In fintechs, two terms you'll heard very often. LOS, which is loan origination system, where, all the customer data comes in and you decide to underwrite the customer. So there are a lot of tools available in the market for, doing this underwriting. But the problem with these tools are they're generic in nature. It's very difficult to customize experience for a customer. For example, I'm offering cards to a customer who has a CIBIL score of 780 plus, right? Do I need to ask him for location permission? Do I need to ask him, to sort of give me your address proof? No, basically I'm getting signals. And I know that, I would be able to underwrite this customer much better without taking a lot of data. Versus the tools which are available in the market, they are saying, no, this is the way the journey is built, and you cannot, customize that a lot. So then it's an experience, it's a core experience for us. So we said, no, we have to build this, right? Now, when it comes to underwriting customer, there are a lot of rules which you write. Rules in the form of CIBIL score this much, how many defaults, or what is the average balance customers maintain. So these rule engines are also available, in the market. And we debated a lot whether we should, build this in-house, or we should, go ahead with, buying a solution for this. And when we wrote down the use cases and we evaluated tool, we thought that while, the entire underwriting algorithm is core to us, but this, whatever we want to write can be serviced by a tool. So why build it, right? Let's go ahead and, make this buying decision. So similarly, in a lot of scenarios, and outsourcing, by the way, is also, not every time, you need to go and sort of have that engineering team and sort of build it. There are outsourcing, models available as well, where if you define things right, probably, that is another option to explore. But when it comes to build versus buy, whatever is core to your customers, and wherever you feel you should not make a compromise, and if you feel that problem is rightly prioritized, go ahead, build it. But whatever is run of the mill, right, available, the CRMs of the world, analytics tool like front-end analytics, back-end, there are a lot of tools available. Don't go for, building them.
Yeah, so I think, great. I think in essence, prioritize and know what your problems are, or in another way, what your unique propositions are. And those are the ones that you double down on and get exactly right. And everywhere else, you should kind of optimize on cost and ROI and look at off-the-shelf, ready-made products and solutions for your business, right? I think one kind of lens or light I'll add on this, it depends also, in my experience, on where you as a founder or promoter and your business are in the digital transformation journey overall, right? If you're already very comfortable in using systems and all of that, then your ability as an individual and as a team to identify what are the USPs, what is not available, and what we should build becomes a lot more. But if you're in the journey where your business is not digital at all right now, you have limited use email and Excel and WhatsApp ke alawa kuch, you're not using, then I would say forget about building for the first year or two. Identify what is the process and the value delivery in your business. What are each of those steps? Talk to some great product and technology people like this about those specific steps. They'll help you discover that there are wonderful tools that can solve those. And as you start using them, another big reason to kind of build is interconnectivity. So with scale, having a lot of these independent departmental problems or functional or stage-wise problems solved with third parties also becomes a bottleneck, because you need an interconnected, seamless workflow. And that's where also many companies then take the leap and decide to build something either in-house or with an agency. So yeah, I think that's everything. We should open the floor up to any kind of Q&A that the audience may have. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. Very insightful from a lot of people coming from different background, and it is very insightful for me personally. I have just one question. When you talk about something making in-house, and if that is something not your strength, and you have the option to go and get the solution from somewhere else, get it outsourced maybe. But there is a challenge there too. A lot of times we don't know like who would be the best choice for getting this problem solved. And like people know about ShipRocket because it has made a lot of noise, but you talked about some social media marketing tool, free or something. But how do we get that thing sorted? Like, is it from experience, or there is a certain way we can build that intelligence to, okay, this is where you should rely on to get your solutions, sorted?
Yeah, I can take that question. So even I have been in that place when I started out. We didn't know what were the tools that existed, whether we can use one is creation versus buying. Creation is a hard problem. So if you start to create, you'll probably spend months or years to build those solutions. The beauty is that if you were to invest even 1/10 of the time in searching, you'll probably find it. There are several ways that we figured out in the later stages, not initially. One of that is attending conferences like these, networking, and try to get some mentors in your field. Many people are interested in mentoring other companies. You can just, if you ping 10 people on LinkedIn, let's say, at least one will respond and say, I'm okay to help you out. You can preemptively say that I'll only request 1 hour per month. And even that 1 hour can save you like weeks of effort. Just mentioning the tool that Jitesh was mentioning can save a lot of time for you in your business. So finding mentors is, even Varun also pointed out that finding mentors is very crucial. As you grow and as you get investments, or as you enter into VC world, the VCs also help you a lot because they have seen a lot of similar companies. But for companies like you, where you have bootstrapped your own company, not looking for external funds, you definitely have to look out for mentors. You definitely have to look at companies. One hack I would say is I would look at similar companies and try to find their founders on YouTube. They leak out their secrets whenever they're speaking on YouTube and catch those words and further research on those. Definitely you can go and find out, but you should definitely spend more time on searching rather than building your own. Building your own is very costly. If you have the ability, build it. But if not, you definitely have to search and try to network and find out. Hope that answered your question.
Thank you. Great session. Thank you so much for the insights. I'm learning quite a bit here too. So what are your advice for non-tech founders who are building a tech solution like EdTech, right? And I've seen quite often that they invariably face a lot of hurdles when they build, even if it's outsourced or they're building it in-house. The time frames go wrong, the features that they wanted are not working out. So they're always frustrated, their launch is always delayed. So what would your advice be to these kind of non-tech founders?
Launch is always delayed. That's
So you
you
take
know,
that as a given then.
yeah, but for non-tech founders, right? You don't necessarily need to know technology, right? That's a myth, right? Even in product management, I've seen people excelling who comes from non-tech background. As long as you're asking the right question, as long as the thought process and the framework so to solve a problem is right. I've seen so many non-tech people coming and contributing to a tech problem in a way which probably even a tech person cannot. As long as that framework and logic of asking the right questions is correct. Apart from that, when it comes to building even by outsourcing or you need to define the use case properly. A lot of times the projects get delayed because whoever is building it gets stuck somewhere where they don't know what to do, right? So especially if and I try to identify the critical path, right? What in your project is going to take the maximum time, and you need to ensure that you don't let even a day slip on that, right? So something which helps is when you're launching something or when you're building a product, have those daily sync-ups. Try to understand the progress. Try to be more involved in those critical products and answer those questions where the technology team is stuck. Define the use cases well, and more so, if you still feel that you're not getting a hang of it, have someone whom you can trust, who can sort of drive these things for you. So that these are some things from my side.
I'll add on to that. I think when you zoom out for a second and you say that they're looking to build an education technology business, I think it becomes strategically critical for them to have a technologist in their team that they trust, right? Because while you can get something built and get off the ground, fundamentally, if you're building an education business, you want to set up a school or college, you don't need a technologist. You'll suffer through, you'll get a stable version of your solution at some point, right? But it is not central to the business. It is like launching a new fund and not having an investment professional, right? Like that it's very core to it, right? I can't launch a school without someone who's been a teacher. So it's kind of that in my mind. And I think like you mentioned, think of it like translation. You go to China, right? No one is speaking your language. You are not speaking their language. You need a translator who you trust. It doesn't have to be a translator who's the best in the world. It doesn't have to be a translator who knows what every word means in both languages or what every phrase means. It just needs to be someone who can bridge that trust deficit gap and improve communication between, let's say, engineering and business, right? So I would say that spend the time, find someone, doesn't have to be the most experienced, doesn't have to be able to do everything themselves, but has to understand what the agency or technology team is doing and has to understand where the business needs are coming from and kind of bridge that gap.